Hey, welkom terug by Nampo 2023. Amper gee ek hierdie manne hartaanval. Ek staan hier so met Lane Reynolds en ons gaan 'n bietjie gesels oor G.C Tillage. Wie hulle is, wat hy doen. Die manne boer self daar in die Mpumalanga wêreld, daar in Val. Ek gaan 'n bietjie by hom hoor hoe die boerdery en die implemente alles bymekaar kom en wat hy vir jou het. En ek wil jou sê, ons het vinnig deur gestap en ek het klaar 'n paar goed geleer. So ja, luister saam. Lane, how you doing?
Yeah, very good, thank you very much.
Ja, lekker om met jou te gesels man.
Baie dankie Tinus.
Okay, Lane, I'm going to switch over to English just easier. My brain can't do Afrikaans. I need to be in one box.
Okay.
So I'm going to jump over to my English box. Let's quickly a bit of overview of the company and yourself. Where do you come from, and how did you land up selling implements to the agricultural market?
That's quite interesting. So my grandfather came over to South Africa in 1970, started G.C Tillage. My dad was in America. He went to university there. At Purdue University, met my mother. They came over to South Africa. They thought it was the greatest country in the world, and my grandfather really thought it was great investment opportunity. In those days, $1 bought you, in fact, R1 bought you $1.80. So it was a great investment from his point of view. And he came over to South Africa, enjoyed it, started manufacturing in South Africa, in Rhodesia, in those days, now Zimbabwe, and he brought the first subsoilers onto the African continent in 1970, and we've progressed from there. My grandfather retired in 1998. I took over the business in 1998, having taken over my father's 50% share in 1995 when he was murdered on his farm in Val, in Mpumalanga. So I'm a commercial pilot by trade, also studied ag economics in the USA at Texas Tech University. But I guess ek het maar 'n boer geword hier in Suid-Afrika.
It does happen when you stay here too long. If you quickly take to look at your implements, a lot of the things are unique and your own initiatives, and we can see that. And when you talk to me about it, I'm sort of at a loss sometimes. So the things that we see here, a lot of the things we see here are farmer brain orientated, things that you see in the field, things that you hear from other farmers. And you decided this is how I'm going to solve this problem.
Yes, I think you mentioned it earlier. It's very difficult to sell something if you know it can't be used on your own farm or in an application that you designed it for. So that's really the main driver of my excitement in this business, is to be able to develop equipment that works on a farm that can add to the bottom line. And my biggest goal is to be in the research and development side of things, and to build equipment, take equipment to the next level, to try and eke out the last bit of profitability that one can get.
Lane, on that point, let's go look at one of those initiatives and one of those things that you've been busy with for the last two and a half years almost, I think. You see, for me, and you won't find this anywhere else.
Yes, I believe so. We've invested in a sugarcane farm in Natal. We decided that it was very difficult to understand the needs of sugarcane farms without actually being invested in sugarcane, and they've got unique problems that we don't face on the Highveld. We operate with big machinery, spreaders that spread 26, 36 meters, and in Natal, sugarcane farmers are farming 1 hectare fields, and you can understand that when they're taking off 80 to 100 tons a hectare of sugarcane, they burn small areas and harvest small areas at a time. So the fields generally have to be small to accommodate that business practice. So this is a machine that we developed for applying fertilizer. In Natal, they use a lot of hand labor to apply fertilizer. They have done that for many, many years. And this machine here is a GPS machine which applies 4 rows on a 1 meter spacing. It can be adjustable from 90 centimeters to 1.1, and you could have it anywhere in between. But this one was specifically developed for the sugarcane farm, to test it and to trial it and to see what the benefits are of applying fertilizer on a GPS basis. So we equipped this machine with a Trimble CFX 750, and we have terrain compensation on the tractor, because in the hills it makes a huge difference. You have to have terrain compensation because of the widths you're spreading. And this machine here has done a fantastic job. We've had some unbelievable results. We are able to put down fertilizer at the right time on the sugarcane with a one pass. You can also map the fields, have your own application map. You can put down your nitrogen, your phosphate, your potassium as you would like, and you can get it done fairly quickly.
I must say, I like the fact that where you sell, you sort of invest as well, and that I like the fact that you're willing to do that. And that's quite a nice way of going about your business. Behind you?
Now, this is a cultivator, a Tissenray Scoffel that we've been building for many years, and we still have it in our line. So this is typically a Highveld row crop machine for soyas, maize, any row crop really. But these days we have greater and lesser needs for it. There's a lot of no-till coming in, and the chemicals are a lot more efficient these days. But we do find that there are a lot of farmers under different conditions where you have denitrification in your soils from too much rain early on in the season, that it's very beneficial to run a inter-row cultivator through your crop to basically aerate the soil.
Yeah, and every now and again in my 5 or 6 years, even if you do no-till or minimum till, sometimes you still need to do that little bit of groundwork.
No, 100%.
Okay, another something I didn't know, a product I don't know, you're behind me, also in the sugarcane business.
Correct.
How does this thing look? I know everything that's on it beneath, but how it's put together, that's different.
So the idea behind this machine was that we've noticed that in the sugarcane industry that your best crop is probably your plant cane crop, and then your first return. It might increase from your plant cane to your first return because of stand, but generally speaking, after the second return, your sugarcane yields tend to start going down. And it's an observation that I've made, and purely a personal one at that I've noticed that there's the only time that one can incorporate the phosphate into the ground successfully is at plant time. There are some machines that have been sold in the sugarcane industry that can apply your phosphate, nitrogen and potassium and put it underground, but there isn't a machine that I'm aware of that can subsoil, can cultivate, apply chemicals, or put fertilizer in liquid form down in front of the machine and then go over it with a subsoiler and have a disc harrow, which is basically the cultivator part of the machine. Now, in the sugarcane industry, there's a lot of trash on the ground, and to run a tine implement is not an option at all. And so what we've done here is we've developed this machine to have disc blades that are adjustable, the row width between the disc blades, also the angle of the disc blades can be changed infinitely, more aggressive or less aggressive, because what we'd like to try and do is to get the lime and the gypsum and your fertilizer down on the ground and try and incorporate some of it. Obviously, only at best you can do 50%, but it's still better than just putting the lime on top of the surface. Agronomically speaking, lime has to be incorporated into the soil. We do see benefits of just having the lime on top of the surface, but to have my idea was to have the lime be able to be incorporated into the soil to a degree. And we've actually had some amazing results on this. We bought a sugarcane farm that was in really bad condition, and on an RV per annum basis, we've increased over an 18-month period. We've increased it by 150%. So obviously we've come from a very low base. But yeah, so when you're talking 30 tons a hectare, and you move your crop up to a 70-80 ton per hectare on an 18-month cycle, and you bring your RVs up from a 6 to a 11 or a 12 on a relative basis, you can get to those sort of numbers. So obviously you can't come onto a farm that's producing 100 tons a hectare on an 18-month basis and think that this machine's going to give you 150% benefit. It's just not going to do that. But the idea behind it is to be able to incorporate your lime into the soil.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. This is your more typical stuff I felt.
Yes, this is actually a machine that we developed we've seen a need for combination equipment, and I was in Canada a number of years back where the Australians were wanting to buy one-way disc harrows from us, and we don't manufacture a one-way disc harrow. We never have. So I said Australia is obviously the leader in one-way disc harrows. Anyway, I thought about the idea, and they told me the problem was that they had soil conditioning in Australia. Certain parts of Australia, you actually just cannot kill anything with Roundup anymore. So they say that the disc harrow, unfortunately, it inverts the soil one way and then it replants it the other way. It's an idea that they had, and they said to me that this doesn't work for them. They want a one-way which basically inverts the material once and kills the plant being able to regerminate. So we came up with this concept where we use a subsoiler to keep the one-way disc harrow in place. So unfortunately, the disc blades in this configuration are 180 degrees in the wrong direction. So I have to apologize for that. But nevertheless, the idea is here where you can adjust the depth of the disc blade individually, and you've got your subsoiler behind, which the depth of the subsoiler on the 3-point linkage system that you see here is governed by the height of the disc blade configuration in the front. And then we have rollers back which basically consolidate the soil. And what you get out of this machine is almost a plant seed bed behind it. But you reconsolidated it. It's very, very nice texture on the soil. It's not overworked. You haven't powdered the soil down because the machine works at a very slow speed, and it's very seldom that you get a combination implement that can do two things very well. And normally a disc harrow was designed to run at a high speed. When I talk high speed, let's say 8.5 k's an hour, not much more than that, otherwise it starts powdering the soil. And unfortunately, a subsoiler, you don't really get much more than about 4 to 5.5 kilometers an hour because of the depth that you're working. So to try and get the combination right really took a lot of playing around with the size of disc blades that we're using, the spacing between the disc blades, because what this machine allows you to do is to go into a crop with a high residue, to be able to chop up the residue and incorporate it with the one-way system into the soil. And then you get a much better flow of material through your subsoiler, which allows you to have a much closer spacing between your subsoiler shanks. And now this gives you a much better breaking up of the soil at any depth that you wish to use this machine.
And if they're saving diesel.
100%. So you in fact look at the system, and if you've got a tractor that you're using for this job, you will put on exactly 50% of the hours on that tractor, and that's a huge difference.
That makes a huge difference. Okay, next, let's move on.
So this is our contour maker. We have contour makers in different configurations, different sizes. We call it a contour maker, but they have been used extensively and to great effect to ridge up soil for planting of trees, citrus trees, olive trees, macadamia trees. Any tree that's planted after this machine has ridged up really benefits from it, because what it does is it actually takes topsoil from a great distance. So you don't actually take subsoil, your topsoil at meters. So this one is running planting your into that situation. The soil is very loose. You very in that soil. These just seem to do very well in those conditions. So apart from it having been designed specifically for contours, it has a different function.
Okay. The next one I want to stop with is another nice one of a nice story. You bought the
Life Grader, yes. So this is another design in KZN. Denzel is a very well-known farmer in the sugar industry, and his sons have taken over his operation. But this is a machine that's well over a quarter of a century old, the design, and you know, sometimes you don't change the design just unless there's something else that works better. And this is just a machine that just works unbelievably well. And we actually build this for Denzel Rafe. And there's probably every second farmer in KZN has this machine, so we still have a potential to sell it to every other one that doesn't have one. But nevertheless, this is a great machine. It's in a standard configuration of 3 meters. It's got a curved blade. It's a rolled formed blade. It's got a specific angle of penetration. Our standard correction around 45 degrees. You adjust the angle. The height of your wheel. It's got different configurations here. So in this configuration would be a very aggressive digging into the soil for primary operation of manufacturing the road on your farm. But normally, once you would have it much lower down to have basically that the blade is level. And you can then shape the road as you please. Also very easy to turn. It's got one at the back. It's got a bar on this side which you basically take off, and you can swing the blade round and you put it back down here. So there's no hydraulics on the machine. Very, very simple to turn. You can just do it by hand by lifting it up. It's a very, very heavy blade, but you can just basically turn it and put it at different angles. And then it's also got a brake bolt on the front of it, so if you happen to hit a big rock or whatever the case may be, it just shears the brake bolt, and then all you do is come and put another one in.
Yeah, that's normally the main thing. If something do break, you need to make it easy to repair.
Correct. And there's also the option to put wings on the side so that you can use it as a box grader in your feedlot or whatever you would like to use it for.
Okay. We've got a slasher over there.
So we've always made a range of slashers. We only produce heavy duty slashers, and there was a renewed call for some heavy duty slashers, so we continue to make slashers, and we build them on demand.
Okay, just a quick look over.
So the disc harrows are basically our trademark. We started with disc harrows in 1970, and we have the Hutchmaster range of disc harrows. My grandfather used to build disc harrows for Rome under license in the early years. The Hutchmaster is basically our name and recognized as a G.C Tillage product and one of the startmakers van ons besigheid, as one would say.
Just a quick on that. So the products that you're manufacturing, almost everything on the stand yourself.
Yes.
For that side of the business.
Correct.
We'll get to that now. In terms of stock and parts and sort of support, how do you go about it? How do you distribute it around the country?
So we've got a huge number of dealers. We've got most of the cooperatives, or the traditional cooperatives, which have now become businesses in their own right. The Africans, the Senveses, they all supply our parts to customers. They also supply equipment to customers. Our equipment is generally available on order. We don't stock a lot of equipment because of the different variations, the different requirements, the specific requirements that a farmer may need for an implement. So we build them to order. We have parts in stock generally all the time. It's been a trademark of our business, and that's why we try and keep things very similar in terms of wheels, the hubs, and so on. And unless there's a real reason why we need to change something to something newer, we try and keep to the old, so that there's commonality. We believe that commonality is an absolute essential, especially when we came into this situation of like COVID, where we never ran out of parts on any one of our locally manufactured machines. And we just see that it's an absolute essential for a farmer to be able to have access to parts. And we've been in the game for over 43 years now, and I believe that that a company who's been in that business for that long, who can have a customer basically just drive to his office and buy parts for a machine he brought four decades ago is quite an achievement. So we happy with that, you know.
Proud of. And if you look at that that's a sort of a history. That makes people trust the brand.
100%.
And that's the end of the day what you guys are doing. You don't have 500 brands here or products. You've got your brands here, but the ones are here of quality, and they work.
Well, we'd like to think so.
Let's move on to the other side. This is your import products.
Yes. So obviously with the demands of the customers, we can't focus on everything and be good at it. So we have an imported range of spreaders, trail spreaders, 3-point spreaders, GPSable spreaders, which are over there on wheels. We have different configurations of them. We bring in header carts. We manufacture header carts in South Africa. We also bring in header carts. It's important to be able to structure the business for ourselves, that if we can't manufacture something locally, that it is available, that we can import it. It also reduces the risk. We have, for example, this machine here, which we do business, which is a company in Brazil, in Naomi Toki. It's in the south of Brazil. This is a weed wiper. They call it a clean field, and this is quite an interesting machine because what you can do is we've got a big problem with invasive species in our veld and so on. And it's very difficult to just take a sprayer and just drive into your veld and start spraying. So we've got this machine here where you can put a herd of cattle into your veld and they're going to eat down all the palatable grass, and then they're going to leave what isn't palatable. And you can come with this machine and you can put Roundup into it. It's got these ropes, and the Roundup basically moistens the ropes. It doesn't drip. And then you set this, and it's an offset rope system. So when you lower it down to where the weeds are, and you basically just pull it over the weeds, and it wipes the weeds. So it's a weed wiper, and Grosmek calls it the clean field. And basically you can get rid of all of your unpalatable grasses and weeds and whatever. And then hopefully when your grass grows back, it overshadows it.
Less competition.
Correct.
Okay.
Then we've got our obviously we've got this is another example of a trailed spreader, which is GPS. These are what we brought to the market in South Africa, and it's unique. And being a farmer, like I said, we try and look at how we can become more efficient, and that's, I think that's a trademark of South African farmers is they run at an incredibly high efficiency. And it's why we're able to operate in a very, very difficult space. And I have to tell you that this machine here has done a lot for bulk fertilizer handling in South Africa. You're able to take fertilizer in bulk to your planters, and this is the machine that does it. It's a stainless steel machine, and we've got them in various sizes. This one here is a 16-ton machine. And we've obviously had to develop it to the market in South Africa. We've had problems with tires and axles and all the rest, you know. So we're continually trying to make changes and make sure that the product stays ahead of the game and stays relevant in our industry. So this is a machine that does both grain and fertilizer. And it's one of the machines that actually, like I said earlier, it's very difficult to find a combination machine that is actually useful and very good at what it does. Great, yeah. And this has to be one of them.
Okay, this side, you're now moving into the South American side of things.
So this is the seed treatment side of our business. We represent Grosmek. They are, in my opinion, one of the forerunners of seed treatment in South America. They are used, these machines, by FMC, DeKalb, Pioneer in Brazil, and they use them on site. They have lots and lots of on site farm application or seed treatment application sites, and this is where these machines are used, and by farmers themselves. So they make some very simple machines like the ones you see here, which we've got on display. They've got some very, very sophisticated electronic machines, which we have supplied into the market to bigger customers. And they've got a new turbine machine, which is a very, very interesting machine, simple, and it's a new machine that's been brought to the market, which unfortunately didn't make it to the Nampo show.
I'm going to invite the guys here to come and see. There's some more stuff here around here. A lot more stuff. I'm going to quickly give them an overview.
Yes.
But
And then this would be the seed classifying equipment that we get in from Grosmek in South America. So this is a seed classifier, and you can classify soybean seed, maize seed, and so on. There's different sizes of it. This machine here does 3 tons an hour, and it's got a cyclone, so it sucks out all the dust. So basically, when the seed comes out out of the different compartments, it's very clean. There's no more dust on it, and you can bag it and use it for planting.
Lane, ek gaan vir jou sê, dit was baie interessant en baie lekker om jou te gesels.
Baie dankie vir jou tyd.
Ek dink die mense moet definitief uitkom en net jou stories kom luister, want ek dink jy is lank genoeg saam met jou pa in die bedryf om te weet wat hier aangaan en hoe jy mense kan help. Dankie, dit was
baie dankie.
Sterkte.
Yes, hi.
Ek sê vir jou kom hierso by Lane hulle uit. Hierso by G.C Tillage, so dit is as jy hierso by die erfenis gedeelte, hier by die muur, kom hier uit. Gesels hom, die man is baie lank in die besigheid. Hy verstaan boerdery, hy verstaan besigheid en hy's reg om besigheid met jou te doen. Tot die volgende keer, totsiens.